Basketball side, Matthew Meyer, no surprise. Although a surprise perhaps to some, I was expecting him to come back to Baylor. I just think it makes more sense in the long run. I know there's always the risk of, knock on wood, injuries, things like that. But given what he could be next year with a solid year of college versus if he had just gone out right now, I think ultimately it's the right choice because there's so much more that he can do in the role that he will be playing next season. But he does, in fact, make the decision to come back to Baylor. There was a kind of a funny moment with he and his agent where initially that first report had come out from whatever site that was, whoever had it out there like yesterday early that he was coming back. That wasn't necessarily the case at the time, but eventually it did settle on him coming back to Baylor. So not totally unexpected, but obviously massive news for Scott Drew and company.
Yeah, and he needed to come back. I mean, let's be real here. I love Matthew Meyer, and I think he's a very, very good player, but I have not seen nearly enough for me to say he's an NBA player.
It's the NBA draft. That's what they do. They go off a lot of potential.
They do, but also he was not going to be a first-round pick. I mean, he just wasn't.
The Mavericks drafted Wang Zhuzhu, who never played a minute of basketball for them. So the NBA, I'm just saying, I know what you mean. He's not. He should not be. It should not even been a question. It should not even have been a question. But it is because it's the NBA draft.
Yeah, and I know. But a guy like probably Wang Zhuzhu was like 19. I mean, Matthew
he was
Myers,
like 7'7" is what he was.
And he was 19. I think Matthew Meyer is 21 now because he's a junior.
I've tried to forget about Wang Zhuzhu.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, not a great pick. And there's a lot of those in the NBA draft, which just kind of goes further to the point.
I think China just hacked my computer. Actually,
probably did. They haven't heard that name in 7 years.
Got totally rattled by that.
But I'm really. This was such a great decision by him. I'm glad he's coming back. I think this is going to make Baylor one of the better teams in college basketball once again. I think preseason ranking, they're going to be a top 5 team, as they should be. And Matthew Meyer has a great chance to really up his draft stock and really turn into one of the better players in the Big 12. A lot of people are talking about him possibly being a preseason Big 12 Player of the Year candidate. So, I mean, that's a lot of expectations to live up to, I think. But I do believe him coming back, showing that efficiency again, continuing to up his game with more consistency, I think will be key. And also, of course, trying to eliminate the bad turnovers that he has or the bad decisions he does have at some times. But I will say, I think Scott Drew and staff got to be so excited to have another veteran back in the room and a guy who can really lead this team to another Final Four appearance, maybe even a national title, possibility. And so I think what I look at for this team is you see guys like Kendall Brown and Langston Love and Jeremy Sohan coming in and possibly having to play big roles. You want to have older guys and you want to have stability still on the roster. And that's exactly what Matthew Meyer will bring back to Baylor.
Yeah, he brings a level of excitement, unpredictability, but also skill. So he's definitely someone with some room to grow in his game, and I think he will thrive with another year of coaching Scott Drew, Jerome Tang, Alvin Brooks, all the rest of the guys on that staff. So smart decision, although I know it had to be, tempting to at least see what the other side looks like. But I think that other side would have a lot greener grass and a lot more green just in general if he does what he can do this year and then makes that choice. And then I don't think anybody will have any doubts about that being the smart decision. So there's Matthew Meyer making his call, and now Baylor Basketball knows what it's going to look like next year. That's the last of the decisions to be made, and kind of all the dominoes fell pretty much how you thought that they would. Who you thought would probably leave left, and who you thought would probably stayed, and they got a good recruiting class coming in. Meanwhile,